Hello and welcome back to Suzerain Kingdom of Rizia and with Ramus Taurus. In today's episode, we've got a call from Chancellor Hegel to hear from. In the middle of the night, I was woken up by a knock on my bedroom door. I heard Pable's voice in the hallway. Sorry, Ramus, but there's apparently an urgent call for you downstairs. I'll be right out. I quickly dressed and joined Pablo in the hallway. Any idea what this call is about? Pablo shook his head. It's on the blue phone, so it's a road leader. Your aide will have more information. We walked through the palace corridors until we reached my study. An attendant stood ready with the blue phone. He informed me that Chancellor Imrich Hegel was on the line. I picked up the phone. Good evening, Mr. Hegel. Hello, Mr. Taurus. I'm truly sorry to disturb you at this hour, but we have unfinished business. What do you mean? The nationalization vote was a success, but the future of the trade zone is far from decided. In fact, with your vote comes a unique chance for cooperation. I voted for nationalization precisely so that you and I could have this conversation, Chancellor. Do not think that this somehow makes us allies, Mr. Taurus, but there is one point we can both agree on. The Republic of Lesbia does not belong in the Median International Trade Zone. I agree, 100%. You're right about that, Prime Minister Alvarez's behavior during the meeting was appalling. As much as I personally dislike the man, he is a mere symptom of the disease called capitalism. And how do you suggest we stop it? I know that Prime Minister Sultana is meeting individually with you and Prime Minister Alvarez to come up with a nationalization plan for its. Lesbia will do everything in its power to keep its operations running exactly as before. You, King Ramus, will not let that happen. That's easy. I was planning on making sure Lesbia got the short end of the scepter anyways. Then we see eye to eye. At the end of the day, I'm only asking Rizia to act in its best interests. Outbidding Lesbia may be in our best interest, but it will take a lot of resources. What can Vagzlin offer us to make this happen? A perfectly rational question, Mr. Taurus. Rizia's military weakness is no secret in international circles. Make sure Lesbia ends up with nothing, and Vagzlin will provide your navy with significant upgrade. Ooh! Tempting. Our navy could use the help. I don't need to convince you of Vagzlin's dominion over the sea. Our warships and submarines are second to none. It's almost as if you want to help Rizia retake Pales. Yes, almost. Can I count on your cooperation or not? Yes, in exchange for your promised military aid, I will make sure Lesbia walks away with nothing. Good. I will be sure to keep abreast of the negotiations. And incidentally, you can count on Vagzlin's support in your current arbitration case against Pales. You have our gratitude for that, good sir. I believe Rizia deserves it. But more importantly, the AN must respect the sovereign territory of islands. That makes a lot of sense why you'd think that, yeah. Good night, your majesty. Until next time, comrade. He hung up. Well, that went well. What do we got on Geopolitico? Vaxland supports Riza's arbitration claim. Vaxlandian Chancellor Imrich Hegel recently released a statement supporting the Kingdom of Rizia's claim to the recent discovered and hotly disputed Aurelius gas field in it. In it, he emphasizes that the Alliance of Nations must supply the maritime economic zones laid out in its directive on offshore resources to the country's entire coastline, including its islands. This statement comes as a surprise considering its historic animosity between Vaxland and Rizia, and we imagine it was motivated by nothing more than self-interest. Should the AN rule in Pale's favor, the fishing and gas rights around Vaxland's own islands may be in danger. RPP campaign reaches tourist heartland. A rally held by the RPP with Suzerain himself delivering the speech was held in Veracruz today. Thousands attended the rally, which effectively moved the campaign deep into the traditional heartland of House Taurus. Traditionally, local tourist nobles have prevented the RPP from holding campaign events in the city, signaling a worrying loss of support for the king. Last election, the RNC still secured over 85% of the vote in the city. Early voting starts. Traditionally, the first part of the country to vote, residents of the island of Quelarbes have started heading to the polls. Custom dictates that votes on the island are to be tallied in the mainland. Therefore, early voting is required to ensure the votes can make it over in time. Results won't be announced until the rest of the country has voted. Alright. Honestly, that makes sense, yeah. Morella invites MITS members to discuss nationalization. Morella has sent formal invites to all participants in MITS, including Rizia, to discuss the nationalization plans. Talks will be held in the Marian capital of Cavet. So here's the thing. I feel like I'm going to need money to be able to do this. And I don't have money. Like, at all. So, like, can I get, like, I could send some that, but that would only give me one. Oh no, that would give me 2 budget. I could do that then. I don't love it because I kind of need my guns, but I also kind of need my money. Let's see. Now that's 2 budget for farm. I mean, it does waste 1 authority if I were to do that path. Yeah, I think I am going to. I don't love it. I actually kind of hate it, but I'm going to sell second batch of military equipment to international market. I just feel like I need the extra money in the bank, just in case we have specific things that need to happen here. I had been invited to Caveat, the capital of Morella, for a meeting with Prime Minister Alma Sultana. Our plan was to discuss how to proceed with the nationalization of the Meftium International Trade Zone. My security detail and I exited our motorcade outside the gates of the People's Gardens, Cavet's largest park. Originally known as the Imperial Gardens, it had served as a private strolling ground for the Emperor of Meridia, then for the Rienhart family during the Valgish occupation. When Morella reconquered Cavet in 1923, the vast green area was open to the public. Once immaculately landscaped with imported Valgish trees and flowers, the park was replanted with native Morellian flora and allowed to grow wild. Children played hide-and-seek in the tall grasses and raced each other up the conical hill in the center. Alma Sultana greeted me inside the gates, accompanied by only a small security retinue. Welcome back to Morella, Mr. Torres. It's good to see you again, Madam Prime Minister. And you, Mr. Torres. We ended on a promising note the last time we saw each other. I hope we can continue that today. She motioned for me to follow her. A barely marked path led into a dense bamboo grove. We walked in, shadowed by our guards. This was all planted along after the Valgs left. Amazing how fast it grows. As we kept walking, I noticed the corner of a wooden object peeking out from behind the stalks. I stopped and pushed the stalks aside. It appeared to be a memorial plaque, carved in traditional Valgish style. On it was a square-jawed man, Axel Rienhart, exact double, triumphantly hoisting his sword atop the park's central hill. An inscription below it read, in commemoration of the brave deeds of Otto Rienhart, Viceroy of Pales and loyal servant of Valgos Empire. The taking of Cavet, our punishment for siding with the wrong house in your war of succession? The Valgos Empire used our family's conflicts as excuse for a land grab. Both of our countries lost territory. We lost one of our most important cities and our access to Antician. There's no comparison. Thankfully, we were able to get it all back after the revolution. How did you manage to reclaim such a large swath of land anyways? I hate to admit it, but my right-wing predecessors happened to be very good strategists. It helped that with its coast blocked, Morello was compelled to invest more into an air force. When Lesbia started sending Pale's planes, we had our own ready to counter them. Impressive. I'd love to hear more about these planes. We can arrange a tour of one of our Air Force bases if there's time after our talk. At the end of the path, we came to a small cylindrical building that looked strikingly different from anything else in the park. A traditional Morellan tea house, historically a place for exchange and a refuge from prying eyes. We had a seat inside our guards kept watch outdoors. The low-ceilinged room was decorated wall-to-wall in colorful woven fabrics. In the center, smoke rose from a roaring fire pit up through a hole in the middle of the ceiling. A waiter came with a tray of Sakar Morillian tea biscuits. Why, thank you. I'd love a biscuit. Please, help yourself. We each took a biscuit off the tray. I bit into mine. It was dry, crumbly, and barely sweet, perfect for washing down with a sip of tea. The waiter placed a pair of intricately ornated tea glasses in front of us and filled them up. We drank. The tea was delicious. I almost need to I don't need to tell you how grateful I am for your kingdom's vote. For the well-being of your workers and the good of your country, there was no other way I could have voted. That's definitely why I did it. Yeah, definitely. That's why. Totally. I definitely treat my workers well. Ignore the hypocrisy. I'm very glad you see it that way. Of course, I want the final agreement to be favorable for all 4 parties involved. You might want to give up trying to court Lespia's favor. Alvarez isn't willing to budge. I'm not trying to court Lespia's favor, but I don't want to shut them out of this proposal either. She tapped her fingers on a teacup. As I said during the board meeting, and my proposal involved with the purchase of Rizia, Lespia, and Vagsland's its assets by a newly formed subsidiary of Morella's state-owned mining company. Each country would have the option of using the money from the sale to buy up to 20% stake in that company. With Vagsland opting out, Morella would retain 60% ownership of the its at minimum. It sounds like you and Chancellor Hegel have given this a lot of thought. To be honest, he was against the idea of allowing stakeholders to buy back shares, but I convinced him there was a place for both Rizia and Lesbia in the its, just a smaller one. And we want to make up for your kingdom's loss of revenue. We know how important gold has been to Rizia in the past. She drained her glass and pushed her teacup aside. So tell me, Mr. Torres, what is it that Rizia wants from Morella? You would ask for your aid, taking that. Interesting. So we have some options. I mean, the thing is, if I were to try to do that, I'd literally be going, so I'm getting energy from them, and I'd like to take that energy from Wellen and sell it to you, because most of my energy is Wellen's. It's not mine. We're involved in an arbitration dispute over the Aurelius gas field. We would like your public support in this matter. She seemed to mull it over. I would rather not harm our upcoming round of negotiations with Lesbia. On the other hand, I would certainly rather that field end up in Rizian than Pelesian hands. I will consider what you're asking. I've heard some great things about the Maryland-built aircraft. I would like some of that for Rizia's Air Force. That can be arranged, not for free, but we'll give you a good price on our best stock. Is there a specific reason why you're interested in strengthening your Air Force right now? I'm worried about an escalation with Pales. We must be prepared in case of conflict. Our own conflict with Pales is long over. I was hoping it would stay that way, but if the situation did escalate, we would be obliged to support you. Any other wishes? Wow, okay. Yeah, let's at least make a suggestion. Rizia wants to be Morella's sole energy supplier. You will purchase oil or natural gas from us at a price that we determine. She looked me in the eye. And you're sure that you will have a steady supply of energy to sell us? Our oil deal with Wellen is going through. We'll be able to build a pipeline straight to Morella soon. Through Dirty, I presume? She frowned. If you can get this Supreme Wiseman to agree to that, we would be interested. She paused for a moment, as if deliberating. I will tell you that Lesbia has contacted us regarding a very similar arrangement, but if you're sure Rizia will be able to deliver a steady supply of energy in Morella, we'd be happy to go with you instead. I am gonna say, absolutely, I am a king who delivers on his promises. I certainly hope so. What else was on your list? That's it. I'm working out the Zeal region on my own. I'm not trying to get help to take it back. We have covered all of Riza's demands, now which Morella will agree to fulfill. That depends, Mr. Torres. We were planning on meeting a limited number of your demands in addition to offering you a 20% share in the new ITS. But if you forgo that share entirely, as Vaxlan's done, we'll gladly make it worth your while. What if I want to buy Lesbia's share along with Rizia's? Giving your kingdom 40% stake in restricted MITs? In that case, Mr. Torres, Morella would be in the country making the demands. Well, give me your demands then. I'm just putting all my cards on the table. Here's this situation. Here's this situation. Let's talk. Let's get our options out there, and we'll figure out what option works best for both of us. This isn't about me trying to get exactly what I want. This is about us figuring out what works best for both of us. Totally. I'm not lying. Totally. The waiter came by and took away our empty teacups. Sultana waited until he was gone and looked at me. Tell me, does Rizia wish to purchase a share in the nationalized MITs or not? First, let's talk about what Rizia would have to do to buy Lespia's share. She nodded. I'll humor you, Mr. Torres. First of all, we are still interested in an energy deal with Rizia, but one where we have more control over the terms and prices. We would also ask that they contribute a small sum of money towards the rehabilitation of the Arpuous watershed, or we'd require your assistance in dealing with the Durdians attempting to infiltrate our borders. Oh, I see. And by dealing with, you mean killing? I mean peacefully deterring. And Asmal refused to talk to me. Can you guess why? Because of the lingering animosity between your countries? You'd think that would be a factor, but no. The Supreme Wiseman simply refused to negotiate with female leaders. But I have a hunch you respect a king and a fellow waricist. We both walk in the light of the 6 stars. Surely we'll be able to find common ground. One would think. Does that mean you're still interested in purchasing Lespia's shares? You drive a hard bargain, but yes, I still want Rizia to have Lespia's shares. She narrowed her eyes. You're as cutthroat as the Lespians in your own way. I can't decide whether I admire it or not. The details will have to be worked out with the help of my ministers and your counselors. This is too formal an agreement to be signed over tea, I'm afraid. But thank you for coming to the table, literally and figuratively. I look forward to working more closely together. You'll most be hearing from my cabinet. I prefer not to make unilateral decisions. She stood up and pushed her chair back. Feel free to take a biscuit for the trip home if you'd like. Yes, please. I can't get enough of them. That's surprising. I hear they're an acquired taste to outsiders, but take as many as you like. We left the tea house and joined our guards outside. Honestly, I like to imagine my character actually, for some reason, genuinely likes them, and that's not even like a troll or anything, but... or like a lie. That part. RNC campaign closing event, turning turnout outshines RPP. Both the RNC and the RPP held their final events of the electoral campaign, as millions of Rizians prepared to head to the polls to fulfill their democratic duty. While both parties held massive closing rallies, the traditional RNC pre-election rally on Marquez was by far the best attended, drawing hundreds of thousands of supporters to the city. We at the Royal Herald continue to root for the King's Party and convinced that the people of Rizia will make the right choice at the ballot box. Well, let's wait and see. Oh, that's just selling the third batch is now an option. Whatever. RPP closes campaign in Branez. With a colorful rally, the RPP closed their election campaign. The decision to close it in Branez is a testament to good creative and unique campaign, with a small city being chosen the location on the border of the Rizia Imperia and Branez is highly symbolic. Riots as migrant groups clash with Suomino. Yeah. Scores of injured and hundreds of arrests make up the balance after a night of rioting gripped Rizia city center. Migrant rights groups had organized a counter-demonstration to Suomino's pre-election rally, during which the ultranationalist group repeatedly criticized the Crown's decision to author pass citizenship to non-ethnic Rizians. In the aftermath of the rally, Suomino's militants attacked counter-demonstrators. Order was eventually restored in the early morning. I see. RNC closes campaign in Moncriz. A massive rally, not too dissimilar from the one that started the campaign, marks the end of the RNC campaign. Tens of thousands of supporters gathered in the RNC stronghold of Moncriz, ending their campaign with an impressive display of strength. To be fair, you're doing it right in your main support center, but still getting good support, so that's what matters. On the return flight from Morella, in air, over Morella and Rizian border. Interesting. Why are we getting an event here? I took my first class seat in the plane that had been chartered for my return flight from Morella. It struck me how much more comfortable this jet was than the ones we had in Rizia. Looking outside the window, I could see Argano and the mountains. The future relationship with Morella and the Mitts was in my head. I took a look at the papers in front of me. Proposal for Rizia to buy Lespia's share in the Meftium International Trade Zone. In exchange for following concessions, Rizia will take over the stake in the National Meftian International Trade Zone that would otherwise be offered to Lespia, bringing its total to 40 shares. Rizia's nationalization concessions. In exchange for allowing to purchase a 40% share in the nationalized Meftian International Trade Zone, Rizia agrees to the following. Promise -1 budget for pipeline, -3 energy per turn, +2 budget per turn. I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna promise to speak with Dirtia. You know what? -1 budget for pipeline, I'm gonna blow them out of the water. I'm gonna do everything on the list of options they want me to do. I'm gonna give them 2 budget for the reparations for the river pollution. I'm gonna pay for the pipeline, giving them energy and getting budget, and I'm gonna speak with Dirtia. We're gonna do everything they want me to do. Also, that +2 budget per turn, genuinely gonna be really helpful. Because I don't need energy as much as I need that budget at the moment. Plus, I can always just use that budget to build something that gives me more energy. I reviewed the agreement once more before signing it. The pilot announced that our descent into Porte Drazan had begun. I fastened my seatbelt. And, well, okay, apparently I didn't lose all my money yet, but, I'm gonna be. Follow up on the Mitts and Morella negotiations. Not long after my recent return from Morella, Alina and Laurento requested a meeting with me. Prime Minister Sultana and ministers had sent a feedback following our Mitts negotiation. The future of the trade zone now hung in the balance. We convened in the council chambers. My counselors greeted me with smiles on their faces. Your Majesty, I hope you're rested from your trip. Your Majesty, I hope you're rested from your trip. There we go. I've actually slept wonderfully since my return. Finishing these negotiations was a real load off my back. The two of them glanced at each other. Alina cleared out her throat. Actually, Your Majesty, we still have some housekeeping to do in that regard. Laurento shuffled through some documents. The Morellan Foreign Ministry has completed their review of your draft proposal for the National Mitts. Fortunately, they are satisfied with your offer. Amazing news. I knew I was a great negotiator. We did promise Morella quite a bit. Come on, Alina. The renewed goodwill between our countries will be worth it. We'll get no such goodwill from Mr. Alvarez, I imagine. I confess I'm not looking forward to his reaction. He would have done the same to us, I'm sure. Lorenzo still looked troubled. He's right. Lorenzo, Rizia, and Lespia were never going to be on the same side. I suppose not. Oh, I almost forgot. Prime Minister Sultana has sent us a gift to commemorate our successful negotiations. He presented me with wooden blocks. I opened it to reveal a shiny, brightly painted bird with a wind-up key stuck into its back. It's a motto of the Morellan meadowlark, indigenous to the Alfred River watershed. It's beautiful. Pass on my thanks. I will. As for the concessions Rizia's agreed to make, he nodded to Alina. She opened her ledgers. Treasury funds have already been earmarked for the rehabilitation of the Alvarez watershed. They will be transferred to Ramella once the agreement has been approved. Rizia Oil and Gas will begin work on a pipeline from Rizia to Morella in order to fill the energy deal we have promised. If all goes well, it will be completed in time for the gas to start flowing once the new MITS agreement is ratified. I'm currently in talks with Durdian Foreign Ministry. You should be able to meet with Supreme Wiseman Asmal soon to discuss Prime Minister Sultana's request. The Durdians did wish to communicate their discontent with Riza's treatment of Galcanists. I suspect you will not get very far with Mr. Asmal without making a few changes. We are both men of faith. The Lord will guide us to an understanding. I am sure that he will. Alina took a last look at her ledger, then gently closed it. I admit I had my doubt about making such a drastic change, but if we can follow through on this agreement, it'll be the coup of the century. Of course we will follow through. The Kingdom of Rizia keeps its promises. Your optimism is inspiring, Your Majesty. While we have you here, a word on Pales. He nodded at Alina. Right, yes. The arguments are still being presented in our arbitration case. Of course, Lespia's support of Pales counts for a lot, but we've received another statements in favor from neighbors and other AN members. Rumberg and the rest of Grace, of course, and surprisingly, Vagsland. Vagsland only supporting us out of self-interest. If Pales wins, its own island's economic zones will be in danger. Still, their backing is extremely valuable. If our agreement with Morella proceeds as plans, we may gain their support, though our neighbors have little clout with the AN on its own. If President Smolik was serious about wanting to renew our ties between our countries, he will speak in our favor. As for Durdia, it appears highly unlikely that the committee will be hearing from Supreme Wiseman Asmal. Understand. Thank you for the update. With pleasure, Your Majesty. We've gone long and past our allotted time. Why don't we call it a day? An excellent suggestion is as usual, Miss Werner. The three of us wrapped up our meeting and went our separate ways. Woo! Alright, first I want to look at this bird. An exquisitely crafted tin bird created by the famous artisan of Morella. A simple wind-up mechanism allows it to flap its wings and stamp its feet. Although these days a common toy in a lot of Morellan households, due to its absence of mass production, birds like this are prized in nations across Mercopa. Yeah, we're currently building the pipeline, so that makes sense. That's going to cost us some money until it's done. Half-full military equipment stockpile. The military stockpile is a moderate level, covering essential infantry weapons, anti-tank, anti-air systems, and vital equipment like armor, gear, and communication tools. While it fulfills immediate defense requirements, there's a clear need to enhance the stockpile, including updates in gear and technology, to ensure long-term preparedness and operational effectivity. Trade deal with Morella. The trade deal between Rizia and Morella, with a focus on energy sections, aims to strengthen economic links. This agreement features an initiative for market collaboration, enhancing the trade dynamics between the two countries. Rizia and Morella relations improve. With the signing of a new series of agreements between our kingdom and the Republic of Morella, an era of improved relations between our countries has started. While we at the Herald naturally applaud our king's shrewd negotiation skills and hail friendship between neighbors as a good thing, we also question the increased influence of the wicked Malyanev on our continent. After all, Morella's president, Almal Sultan, has praised Malyanist ideas in the past. Some might suggest that a more hardline approach against Malyanist countries in order to isolate them from the rest of the world would have been a better approach. Hey, you'll like it once I get that 40% 40% instead of 25. I've gone in and actually increased our end amount. So, I mean, they get nationalizations and I get more of their economy? Sure, another nation loses out, but who cares about Lesbia? Rizia has agreed to Morella's demand for reparations as part of Morella's effort to put together a fund for an environmental restoration of the damage caused by years of myths exploitation. Both countries will contribute significant sums of money to the revival of wetlands and increase of biodiversity in the Alfadid River area. These funds are also meant to ensure that any future economic exploitation will generate and minimize pollution by utilizing new technologies in the gold extraction process. Republic of Morella. More gas pipeline is being built. Construction begins on Rizia Morellan energy pipeline. Following agreement with Prime Minister Alma Sultana, preliminary construction has begun on the pipeline that will deliver energy from Rizia to Morellan's capital of Kelveta. The work is expected to take up to 2 years. Alfeld rehabilitation begins in earnest. Aided by Rizia's funding, the Save Alfred Association has begun a comprehensive effort to rehabilitate the polluted Alfred River watershed. The efforts include establishing water treatment facilities, afforeshing drives, and community awareness campaigns to ensure the river's long-term sustainability and cultural significance. Sultana promises agreement support. Following our negotiations with PM Alma Sultana, she has sent us a non-binding assurance that she will support the latest draft of the MITS agreement when it comes time for the final board vote. Nice. We got one more thing. Democratic Republic of Vagslan. Vagslan sends naval aid. Morellan PM Alma Sultana has informed Chancellor Hegel of Vagslan that Morella and Rizia have agreed to exclude the Republic of Lesbia from the most recent MITS draft agreement. Hegel promised that he will support the agreement, and furthermore has sent our military Vagslandian submarines as his gesture of gratitude. Yeah, we got our stuff. And assault on Rizian citizen by Swordish tourists. Handling assault by foreign Swordish tourists. Interesting. The peaceful streets of Valaquiz have been shaken by a scandalous incident. A group of Swordish citizens has been accused of brutally assaulting a Rizian citizen. This event has sparked a heated debate amongst the nation. Public outcry demands justice, while diplomatic considerations urge a more measured response. The decision of how to handle these foreign tourists could strain Rizian-Swordish relations and set a precedent for future international incidents. Stay silent on the subject, avoiding diplomatic tensions. Send the tourists back to Swordlands, avoiding a trial in Rizia. Bring the Swordish tourists to justice in Rizia. Look, if they did something in Rizia, I'm gonna have them stand in trial in Rizia. Hopefully me and Swordland can work this out, but I think that honestly makes sense. Oh yeah, we now have allied and friendly. Oh my god, that's amazing. And we have more submarines, battleship. We got more equipment. We got battleship. We got submarines. That makes up for all the equipment I've been having to spend on money. In fact, I paid 500 to get the money to pay for that, for the stuff at that meeting, and they sent me 1,000. So like and I've overall sent 1,000 so far. So Rizia chooses justice over diplomacy in Valaquiz incident. The Rizian government decision to prosecute the Swordish tourists involved in the Valaquiz assault intentionally marks a significant moment in Rizian-Swordish relations. While this move has lauded by the Rizian public for its commitment to justice, it raises questions about the diplomatic repercussions. This incident could set a precedent for how the kingdom manages future international legal disputes. Well, yeah, they did it in our kingdom. It's our laws. I'm not gonna let you decide how we do our laws. It's our laws. I might remove Golkinist blasphemy law to try to Dirtia. Yeah, nourished republic. Yeah, and is likely to be welcomed by Dirtia and the Golkinist community in the nation. I might do that. Just because we're about to have to do meetings with them, and I think that'll improve our relations with them and allow us to have a better meeting with them. Breaking up after to do with the aligns with the spirit of religious freedom. or over the waves may reach, which might leave this policy chain. But aligns and is likely to be welcomed by Dirty and the Galcanist community in the nation. Here's the potential to stir concerns with the Destiners community. Yeah, I'm not completely happy with this, but I am gonna sign it before we get close to getting to unrestricted access to Galcanist places of worship. Galcanism in Rizia enjoys unhindered access to their places of worship. The state's relaxed approach allows them to practice their faith without significant interference, fostering the sense of religious liberty within the community. And we Galcanists to receive access to holy sites, promote religious harmony between all race and Nurity, and to do away with tensions and petty squabbles. His Majesty has announced that he will be repealing the blasphemy laws against Galcanists believers. In practice, this allows Galcanists access to our holy sites, finally resolving a point of tensions that has lasted decades. Dirty has already voiced his approval for the measure, although Wellen has voiced his skepticism. We can only encourage a more interreligious dialogue between different branches of the Norse faith. Yeah. But this is a good time to go ahead and end this episode. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell button. And as always, peace.